so frustrating because before we can even celebrate yesterday's win against the Giants, and before we can even talk about Saturday's upcoming game against the Steelers, which, by the way, is for the AFC North Division lead, or at least could be tied for it, we've got to talk about Diontae Johnson because there is a new update coming out of Baltimore for the, I was going to say star wide receiver. He's been everything but that in Baltimore. The newly acquired wide receiver from the trade deadline, the Baltimore Ravens, tweeted out something. I'm going to let you know what that is. But before we go any further, this is exactly why you sub to the channel, okay? This is breaking news as of at the time of filming this, 20 minutes ago. We're already going. The video will be out in just a little bit. I know you're watching right now. None of this time frame means anything to you, but I'm just saying we get things out fast right here on Ravens Rundown. So if you have not already, and this is your first time watching us, hanging out with us, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're here every day of the week, sometimes 2 videos a day. So join us right here. Alrighty, the Baltimore Ravens Twitter account tweeted this out, and it was right at the beginning of John Harbaugh's press conference. Just hilarious timing. They said, "We have mutually agreed with Diontae Johnson to excuse him from team activities this week." Mike Garafolo followed up that tweet with one of his own, saying, "This is not an extension of the suspension for Diontae Johnson. Ravens and his camp working through their options right now." So, like Mike said, and like the photo says itself, this isn't an extension of the suspension. They're not suspending him one more week. They're basically just saying, we don't know what to do with you, and I feel like Diontae Johnson doesn't really know what to do with the Ravens. So they're saying, how about we just agree to maybe act like this suspension is going on one more week. You don't have to come to practice. You don't have to come lift weights. You don't have to come to team meetings. Honestly, just get out of the way. We're trying to prepare for Saturday. We're trying to focus on what's next for this team and try to focus on the playoffs in the future, and you're kind of getting in the way of that. To recap what has gone on since Diontae Johnson has joined this team, it's been a roller coaster, okay? October 29th, the Ravens traded for Johnson about a week before the NFL trade deadline. Then November 7th, his first catch, 6 yards against the Cincinnati Bengals. Cough, cough, his only catch. December 1st, game against Philadelphia. Rashad Bateman exits with a knee injury. They asked him to go in, not just once, but repeatedly, it's been reported, and he refuses to go into the game. Then 3 days later, bam! 1-game suspension, was out last week in practice, did not play against the New York Giants. And technically, if you take into account the bye week that happened before the Giants game and after Philly, this is 3 straight weeks of him not being with the team for team activities. And honestly, it's not that bad of a thing. He's only gotten 5 targets this year, 1 reception, 6 yards, 0 touchdowns. And honestly, guys, it's a little bit confusing to me of his lack of production in Baltimore. Because when you take a look at what he was able to do in Carolina with 2 quarterbacks and Andy Dalton, who is in AARP right now, he's dipping into his Social Security, and also with a guy like Bryce Young, who, yeah, he's gotten better in past weeks, but those first 2 games that he played before he got benched, he looked like prime. And when I say prime, I mean the awful version of, I guess, what we've seen of Aaron Rodgers this year as well. He looked bad, that's all I'm trying to say. But he had 7 games, 57 targets, 30 receptions, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was doing that with Andy Dalton and Bryce Young. And then he's coming to Baltimore in this situation to be what I thought was going to be the wide receiver 2 on this roster, hiding behind a multitude of weapons in Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and he does nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so it's always confused me a little bit, and I think they're at this point right now where he's given us nothing. Let's just cut ties, wash our hands of this, and say sayonara. Because, like I mentioned earlier, this happened right in the middle of John Harbaugh's press conference, so he got to be asked by beat reporters, which we all know Johnny H. loves getting asked about these questions by guys that are beat reporters, and said there are reasons for doing things, front office type reasons. I want to think about Pittsburgh and the guys who are going to be here getting ready to play Pittsburgh. That's my focus 100%. He was asked again about it. He said, all I'm really thinking about right now is Pittsburgh and getting our team ready for Pittsburgh. He won't be here this week, and next week will take care of itself. Speaking of next week, I got a question for you guys. John Harbaugh said next week will take care of itself. What are the odds, percent chance, that take care of itself means he's just not going to be on the team? You let me know in the comment section down below. Scale it 1 to 100 for me. This is the pinned comment on today's video. I'm about to give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Game Time. When I'm talking about Game Time, scroll down the comment section, find this question, and scale it for me 1 to 100. Alrighty, let's talk about our friends over at Game Time because they're the proud sponsor of today's show. It's the only place that I go to get any tickets to college football or NFL games because it's the best seats with the lowest prices guaranteed. Game Time has an awesome feature. It's called Game Time Picks, and that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The tool highlights the best deals, including great and amazing deals with the highest value seats at the time. For some events, Game Time Picks also identifies a super deal, which is the best seat value in the venue. And I know what you're saying right now. You're saying, Joey, you're only talking about Game Time because it's your job to talk about Game Time. And why? That might be correct. I actually use Game Time, and I can prove it. Look at this Game Time app right here. My tickets. Rose Bowl, Oregon versus Ohio State / Tennessee CFP semifinal. I already bought my tickets because I'm hopeful my Tennessee Volunteers will knock off Ohio State this weekend. And if they do, I'm going to the Rose Bowl. And guess where I got it from? I got it from Game Time because I found the lowest price. I got to see everything I needed to, and I got to use code ChatSports for $20 off my first purchase. That's why you should go ahead, download the Game Time app, redeem code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Don't forget to create an account as well. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. So my take really on this whole Diontae Johnson situation is this was just about as big of a swing and a miss for Baltimore as it could ever get. And it seems to just get worse every single day because you made the trade and then he's not really participating or I guess adding to this team production-wise. And so you're like, okay, that's pretty bad. But then he starts being a detriment, okay? He refuses to go in. That's even worse. Then he gets suspended. Yikes, even worse than that. Then after his suspension, this organization, this front office has already just decided, you know what? It was kind of better when he wasn't with the team anyway. Let's just go another week. It's like a paid vacation. He's on paid maternity leave. They are paying him to stay away from this football team. I don't see how a trade could get any worse, especially when you take into account, like we talked about earlier, at the root of it, this is a good football player who I'm sure they hoped would give actual great minutes and great production to this football team. But it just hasn't worked out that way, has it? No. Instead, it's just been the exact opposite. Not only is he a guy who doesn't produce, but he's a guy who seems to be a detriment to this locker room. And I said this last week, but this isn't Madden. Okay? It's not just adding a guy who you see as an 86 overall to a team that might need some help in a wide receiver room. No, it's adding a person with his own intricate personality to a locker room full of individuals with their own personalities. And they all need to coexist and they all need to mesh. Okay? Coexist is not just a bumper sticker. It's something that these teams have to do together to put the best product on the field. And so far, with Diontae Johnson, it seems like he's just not meshing. This team just is not coexisting. And you heard guys like Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers talk about him last week. Zay Flowers said, yeah, he's my guy. He's one of the guys. No, he's not, Zay. He's not. You're lying. And I know you are, okay? And that's okay. I would say the exact same things if I were you. But I'm not. And I get to tell the truth because this is my show. And so Diontae Johnson, I think his time is very, very limited as a Baltimore Raven. I think probably part of the reason they're not cutting him and they're just giving him money to just not be with the team is because they don't want somebody else, like possibly a Pittsburgh where he's been before, to pick him up and be able to utilize him as a weapon. That's just my opinion. But if you were John Harbaugh, if you were Eric DeCosta, what would you do? Would you cut Diontae Johnson? Give me a yes. Give me a no. Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you guys have enjoyed the Victory Monday through all the weird news updates about Diontae Johnson. We got a big week ahead. Steelers on Saturday. I'll be here to cover it every step of the way. So make sure to hit that subscribe button.